Confident Speaking Podcast, where you can learn to speak English with natural rhythm, real confidence, and fluency.
I clearly recall this one time. I was at a large social event, a big gathering, and something happened to me there. Oh, what was it again? Well, I saw this group of people, and they were deep in conversation about a topic that was just incredibly fascinating. It was a subject I actually know a great deal about. I found myself having so many things I wanted to contribute, just countless thoughts and ideas popping into my head.
So, did you dive in? Did you manage to share those thoughts?
That's precisely the issue. I desperately wanted to, but I simply couldn't figure out how to join the conversation. I was trapped in my own head thinking, what if I interrupt them at the wrong moment? What if it just becomes awkward? And in the end, I just remained silent. Afterward, I felt absolutely terrible that I hadn't said anything at all.
Oh, I recognize that feeling completely. I genuinely believe almost everyone has experienced that exact situation at some point. You possess so much value to add to the discussion, but that tiny, critical voice inside your head just stops you. You end up feeling stuck, just watching from the outside.
Exactly. It's that specific moment when you deeply wish you could just confidently and smoothly step in and share your ideas, but some invisible force holds you back.
Well, that is exactly our focus for today. We're going to explore this topic deeply: how to talk to anyone with genuine confidence. We plan to share straightforward, practical methods to help you feel more comfortable joining in, speaking your mind, and truly connecting with other people. I'm David, by the way.
And I'm Jessica. Welcome to Confident Speaking Podcast. This is the podcast where you can just relax, lie down, or even listen while you're drifting off to sleep. There's absolutely no pressure here, no stress, just authentic, real conversations. And to make this even more valuable, we have prepared a free PDF guide just for you. Inside, you will discover all the key phrases, the reflective questions, and the grammar practice related to today's episode, available in the description below.
So, if your goal is to learn how to talk to anyone confidently and with ease, get comfortable, perhaps grab your tea, and let's begin.
Okay, David, in your opinion, why is it so challenging to talk to people sometimes?
I believe it frequently boils down to simply feeling nervous. Our mind kicks into overdrive and begins overthinking absolutely everything. We start to obsessively worry about what the other people in the conversation might be thinking of us.
Yes, that anxiety about what will they think, it's incredibly powerful, isn't it?
It truly is. You begin to spiral thinking, will I say something incorrect? Will they find me strange? Am I going to be judged for my opinion? And as soon as those thoughts flood your mind, they paralyze you. Even if you have a wealth of knowledge to share and you truly desire to join in, that overwhelming feeling just freezes you in place.
That describes exactly what occurred at that gathering. I had so many interesting points I could have made, but the intense fear of interrupting awkwardly or maybe saying something that sounded silly, it just kept me completely silent. It felt like a solid wall had gone up in my mind.
It's an exceptionally common experience. We tend to focus so much of our energy on imagining negative outcomes that we completely forget about all the positive things that could potentially happen. We effectively stop ourselves before we even make an attempt.
Right. It can genuinely hold us back in so many ways, even when we have significant value to contribute. But how do we overcome that struggle? How can we start to feel more confident in those moments?
Well, it really centers around preparing your mindset and actively practicing your confidence. It's not some magic quality you just have naturally. Confidence is a skill that you must build over time.
That is so true. The process begins even before you utter a single word. It starts the moment you decide to join a conversation or even just as you walk into a room.
Yes, consider your body, for example. You can physically enter a space and join a group with excellent posture. Stand tall. Make a point to keep your shoulders back. This simple adjustment instantly makes you feel a little stronger, and just as importantly, it makes you look more confident to everyone else. And please don't forget the power of a smile. A genuine, friendly smile acts as a universal welcome sign. It non-verbally tells people that you are open and approachable. And when you do speak, use a pleasant, welcoming tone of voice. Not excessively loud, certainly, not too quiet, but clear and friendly. These physical actions are incredibly powerful. They actually send signals back to your brain, reinforcing and making you feel more confident.
But often, the biggest battle takes place in our own minds. That's where we must learn to transform those negative thoughts into positive ones. Instead of letting your brain sabotage you by saying, "What if I say something wrong?" Or "What if I make a mistake and look silly?" Or "What if they judge me?" You must actively shift those thoughts to more positive ones.
You have to switch that negative thought immediately. For instance, instead of, "What if they laugh at me?" you can reframe it and tell yourself, "Well, at least I made someone laugh today." Or if you think, "I might make a mistake," you counter with, "It's okay, a mistake is just a learning moment." Or instead of fearing, "What if I interrupt awkwardly?" you tell yourself, "I'm just going to find a polite way to join the flow of the conversation." The absolute worst thing that can happen is you might pause, and then you simply try again.
It's all about remembering that in the vast majority of everyday conversations, the stakes are not that high. It's really not that serious. People are generally focused on enjoying the moment, not on critically judging your every single word. In fact, they are far more likely to appreciate that you made the effort to join in.
Right? When you really analyze it, it's just not that serious.
However, for a lot of people, the real challenge isn't just what to say, but how to even begin. So many of us struggle with what we call small talk, or just the simple act of initiating the conversation.
Yes, that's the key. And for our listeners, if you're unfamiliar with that word, to initiate just means to start something. So initiating a conversation simply means being the one to begin the talking. And that can often feel like the most difficult part, especially when you're approaching a group or talking to someone you don't know very well.
It's so true. You see a group of people laughing and chatting, and you have thoughts you want to share, but then you think, how do I just enter that? What do I possibly say first? Those first few words can feel incredibly difficult to find. I really believe if I had known back at that gathering how to start the conversation smoothly or just how to join in without feeling so awkward, it would have helped me immensely.
And small talk is just so important, too. By small talk, we are referring to those easy, light conversations about general topics like the weather or what someone did over the weekend that really help you connect with people on a basic level. Yes, knowing how to engage in small talk is really, really crucial for building your confidence. It's how you test the waters, so to speak, and it's how you signal that you are friendly and open to talking. So, how do we start a conversation? Let's actually provide our listeners with some powerful phrases and effective methods to start a conversation that make them sound confident right from the beginning. These are simple, practical ways and phrases designed to make that first step much easier and feel more natural.
The most straightforward way to begin is often by making a simple observation about your shared surroundings or making a comment on the current situation. This is something you both are experiencing, so it's a very safe and relatable topic.
Exactly. You are both in the same place at the same time, which means you instantly have common ground. For example, if you're at an event where food is being served, you could easily say, "This food is great, isn't it?" Or, I just love this dish. It's my absolute favorite. If you're outside or waiting somewhere, you could remark, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? Or, wow, this line is quite long today. You see, it's just a simple statement or a question about something you are both experiencing. It effectively opens the door for the other person to reply.
The next excellent trick is to ask an open-ended question. An open-ended question for our listeners means a question that cannot be answered with just a simple yes or no. It is specifically designed to invite the other person to provide a longer answer, which is what actually starts a real conversation. This is a very important technique.
For instance, if you're at a gathering, you could ask, what brings you here today? Or perhaps, how do you know the host? If you notice someone holding a book or wearing a t-shirt from a particular place, you could ask, what are you reading? Or, oh, I love that city. What did you enjoy most about your time there? These types of questions immediately invite more than just a single word response, which helps the conversation to grow organically.
Another fantastic way to start is by offering help, or even by asking for some very simple help yourself. Yes, doing this creates a small, immediate moment of connection. If you see someone struggling with something light, like juggling their coffee in a bag, you could offer, "Can I help you with that?" Or, "Do you need a hand?" Conversely, if you genuinely need a piece of information, you could ask, "Excuse me, do you happen to know where the restroom is?" Or, "Could you please tell me what time the next bus is scheduled to arrive?" Most people are quite happy to help, and this small, simple interaction can naturally transition into a longer chat.
Also, another powerful method to start a conversation is with a sincere and specific compliment. Sincere means it's real and you genuinely mean it, and specific is key. It means you don't just say something vague like, you look nice. For example, if you admire something someone is wearing, you could say, I absolutely love your bag. May I ask where you got it? Or if you notice something they contributed earlier, you might say, that was a really interesting point you made during the presentation. This makes the other person feel good and provides them with an easy, clear way to respond. Just always make sure the compliment is honest.
But what happens after those first few words? Now that we've successfully started the conversation, how do we keep the conversation going?
That is the next crucial step. Our tip here is to use some simple, effective strategies to maintain the momentum and, importantly, avoid those awkward silences.
That's right. The most natural and effective way to continue is by asking good follow-up questions. This means you have to actively listen to what the other person just said, and then you formulate a question that relates directly to their last point. This action powerfully demonstrates that you are actually listening. You don't want to just ask a completely new random question.
For example, if someone mentions, I just got back from a trip, you don't then immediately ask, so what's your favorite color? That's completely disconnected. Instead, you follow up by asking, oh, that's exciting. Where did you travel? Or what was the best part of your trip? Or if they say something like, I'm really busy with a new project at work right now, you could ask, what kind of project is it? Or is it proving to be challenging? This technique makes the conversation feel natural and connected.
Another excellent way to keep the dialogue flowing is by sharing something brief that relates to what they just said. But remember, the key word here is brief. It is not about taking over the conversation and making it all about you. For instance, if they talk about how much they love to read, you could say, oh, I love reading too. What kind of books do you usually enjoy? If they mention a hobby like cooking, you might add, that sounds really fun. I actually tried making homemade pasta last week. It was quite an adventure. You are contributing to the conversation, not just interviewing them with questions. This makes it feel much more like a real, balanced conversation.
It's also incredibly important to verbally and non-verbally show that you are listening and genuinely interested. Simple words and even sounds can make a massive difference. Things like, oh, really? That's interesting. Wow. Or, I see what you mean. These small responses demonstrate to the other person that you are engaged, and it actively encourages them to continue talking. It makes them feel heard.
Also, you can just simply comment on what they said to show you're processing it. For example, if they say, "I spent the entire weekend hiking in the mountains," you could respond, "That sounds like a lot of fun." Or, "I understand what you mean. Hiking can be so refreshing." If they share a small frustration, you could show empathy by saying, "That must be tough." Or, "I can definitely see why that would be annoying." These phrases clearly show understanding and connection.
By mixing these techniques, asking follow-up questions, sharing brief related stories, and using these small verbal cues, you can keep conversations flowing naturally and feel much more confident while talking to anyone.
All right, so we have covered a lot: how to prepare your mindset, how to start conversations, and how to keep them going. But now let's shift our focus to some very common mistakes people make that can actually undermine their efforts and make them feel less confident. Sometimes knowing what not to do is just as important as knowing what to do.
The first major mistake is over-explaining or apologizing excessively. You know those moments when you say something and then you immediately try to justify it with too many details, too many reasons, or you keep saying, "I'm sorry," for very small things? That habit can make you sound much less confident, even if your underlying idea is excellent. If you provide too many unnecessary details or keep apologizing, it can make your listener feel like you aren't sure about what you're saying or that you believe you've done something wrong even when you haven't. Just say what you need to say clearly, confidently, and then stop. Trust that the other person understood you. If they genuinely need more information, they will simply ask for it.
The next common mistake is something many people do without even realizing it. It's not truly listening and, as a result, just talking way too much.
Oh, this is a huge one. We can sometimes get so focused on what we want to say next, or we get so worried about a potential silence, that we completely forget to really hear the other person. A good conversation is like playing catch with a ball. One person throws, the other person catches, and then they throw it back. If you just keep throwing the ball over and over without ever letting the other person catch it, it's not fun, and it certainly is not a conversation. So actively avoid talking too much about just yourself or constantly steering the topic back to what you want to talk about. You must give the other person space to speak and then truly listen to their words.
Also, a critical mistake during a conversation is avoiding eye contact. If you don't look at the person you're talking to, it can easily make you seem uninterested, disengaged, or excessively shy. Making good, appropriate eye contact shows the other person that you are interested in what they are saying, that you are engaged in the moment, and that you are confident. It is essential for building a real connection.
Of course, this doesn't mean you need to stare intensely, which can be uncomfortable. A natural, comfortable amount of eye contact, like looking at them when they're speaking and looking at them when you are speaking, is perfect. It simply shows respect and interest.
All right, David, so we've touched on a lot: how to start a conversation, how to keep it going, and what critical mistakes to avoid. But now, how do you confidently and politely end a conversation?
That is such an important point. Nobody wants to feel trapped in a conversation that has gone on for too long, nor do they want to just walk away awkwardly without a clear conclusion. Knowing how to exit a conversation smoothly leaves a wonderful, positive last impression.
One of the easiest and most common ways to end is to briefly mention something you need to do next or a plan that you have. This clearly signals that it's time for the conversation to wrap up. It provides a polite and understandable reason for leaving. For example, you could say, "Well, I should probably let you go," which is a very polite way to phrase it. Or you can be more direct and simply say, "I need to get going now."
Or another truly excellent way to conclude is to simply express your appreciation for the conversation you just had. This strategy leaves a warm, positive feeling for both people. You can say, "It was great talking to you," Or, I really enjoyed our conversation. If you just met them for the first time, you can say, "It was so nice meeting you." This demonstrates genuine politeness and shows that you valued the interaction.
And if you genuinely want to continue the conversation at another time, or if you anticipate seeing them again, you can suggest a future interaction. You could say something like, "Let's catch up again soon," or "Maybe we can talk more about this later." If you're at a larger event, a simple, "I'll catch you later," works perfectly. This keeps the door open for another conversation without feeling pressured to continue this one right now.
And finally, you can use just some simple, universally polite ways to say goodbye. You can say, "Have a great day," or "Enjoy the rest of your day," or simply, "Take care." By combining one or two of these phrases, you can confidently and politely end almost any conversation. For example, "It was really great talking to you, but I need to get going now. Have a great day."
We have shared so many practical ways to build confidence in conversations, but there is one more absolutely essential point I want to emphasize that truly makes all of this work so much easier. That point is be present and really listen. You see, you simply cannot have a truly successful or confident conversation without the foundation of listening.
Well, that is so incredibly true. If you're not really listening, you are probably just waiting for your turn to talk. Or even worse, you're busy in your own head thinking about what clever thing you're going to say next. When your mind is focused only on you talking or on what you're going to say, you're not genuinely hearing the other person. You end up missing their actual words, the feelings behind their words, and many important details. This inevitably makes the conversation feel one-sided and can make you seem completely uninterested. And when you're not truly listening, it becomes much, much harder to ask those good follow-up questions we talked about or to connect with what the other person is trying to share. The conversation simply will not flow naturally.
So, to be confident and to talk to anyone with ease, you must train yourself to be fully present in the moment. When someone else is speaking, give them your complete, undivided attention. Listen to their words, pay attention to their tone of voice, and genuinely try to understand their message completely. This simple act makes the other person feel valued and truly heard. And when they feel heard, they're far more likely to engage positively with you, which in turn naturally boosts your own confidence. You'll find it becomes so much easier to respond because you truly understood what they said.
So please remember, confidence in conversation isn't just about speaking well. It is deeply and fundamentally connected to your ability to truly listen and be present with the person you are talking to. This approach makes your conversations infinitely more meaningful and more enjoyable for everyone involved.
So, to bring this all together, David, what is the single most important thing our listeners can do to really make all of these tips and strategies stick?
Oh, that's the easy part, Jessica. It all comes down to one simple word: practice.
Exactly. All of these tips we've discussed, the mindset, the body language, the conversation starters, they are all skills. And just like any other skill, from playing guitar to learning a language, they only get better with practice. This practice can happen anywhere, whether you're practicing alone in front of a mirror, or perhaps recording yourself speaking on your phone, or finding more opportunities to chat with a friend, or even just starting small, low-stakes conversations in your daily life. Every little bit helps.
The key is to actively practice these tips and phrases. Make it a goal. Try starting one new conversation with a new person this week. In your next chat, consciously work on asking good follow-up questions. Focus on listening more than you talk in your next meeting. And then, after you practice, take just a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, how did that go? What worked well? What could I improve for next time? This self-reflection is what helps you clearly see where you can improve and truly grow.
And that brings us to the end of our episode on how to talk to anyone with confidence. We have covered so much valuable ground today, so we truly hope these tips help you to overcome nervousness, to feel empowered to step into conversations, and to feel more at ease sharing your unique thoughts and ideas with anyone you meet.
What did you think of today's episode? What is one specific tip that you're excited to try out in your next conversation? Please tell us in the comments below. And for more episodes just like this one, make sure you subscribe to Confident Speaking Podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Thank you all so much for letting us be a part of your English learning journey. Keep practicing, keep improving, and take care, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to Confident Speaking Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to Master English Fluency.